Okay. Because currently social media is what I consider a dumpster fire right now, I decided to start another one of my projects a little earlier than I expected, called Just My Two Cents. I think this might be reading backwards, but I can't tell. Anywho, just my 2 cents. I'm going to answer some questions and respond to some commentary that I've gotten pertaining to the protesting and all the things that have been said and mentioned in regards to Black Lives Matter for the past few days. Um, Disclaimer, uh, I don't agree with senseless rioting and looting and trashing of neighborhoods and things like that because people live there. That's their livelihood. This is where they work. This is where they live. This is where they have a business, all these different things. But at the same time, I think it's really, really sad that it had to escalate to this point just to get these small changes done, such as getting cops arrested for murdering a man, or laws changed, or monuments taken down that are Confederate related and things like that. So I have 10 questions or topics I'll talk about, and then that's just it. There's no discussion, there's no debate. I'm not an expert on history or anything like that. This is just my opinion, and you can take it or leave it because I don't care. This is just how I feel in regards to this. Okay. Comment slash question number one. How do you feel about the protests and all the comments that have come with it? It's written a little differently. I feel that the protest is necessary. This isn't the first time we've had a protest in regards to Black Lives Matter. This isn't the first time we've had people outraged by some senseless killing as a result of a cop unjustly murdering someone, or a white person going out and attacking a group of minorities. Um, some of the commentary I've seen All Lives Matter. I've seen people calling the protesters criminals and thugs. We have that famous line from our famous president going on right now about looting and shooting. And we have people who are buckling down on their support for Trump. We have people who are angry, sad, hurt, scared. I've had people reach out to me and ask me for information pertaining to what they've done or what they can do better to help the cause. Um, it's been like a whirlwind of emotions because there's also people who are just completely avoiding the issues because either they don't know what to say, they have family members who they know will call them out on their crap, and they don't want to be called out, so they just act like nothing's going on. And then we have people who I'm not sure if they're just petrified or maybe they just don't use social media, or there's also people who have jobs that if they speak out, they could lose their position at work. And I can't completely blame people for being in that really rock in a hard place situation. Some of the commentary on the protests, I haven't been too cool with. I don't appreciate All Lives Matter. It's not appropriate for this cause. I don't appreciate people stating that the person who was killed, George Floyd, was a thug, or saying that he shouldn't have been doing whatever he was doing. At the end of the day, he was defenseless and already handcuffed on the ground. What purpose did you have for sticking your knee into his neck and holding him there for 8 minutes? There's no excuse for that. That's just evil, in my opinion. And anyone who can't see that, I have a problem with. Because it's evil. Like, I don't, it blows my mind right now that there are people out here who think there's something more wrong with people protesting and being angry and hurt by another senseless killing of a black person, and then another cop almost getting away with what he did until there was outroar. So, right now, a lot of comments boggle me that are against the protest, against Black Lives Matter, and against George Floyd. I've seen people say disgusting things about black people recently, racist things, talking about his appearance, talking about, well, he probably was a thug, or rationalizing, doing anything to try to rationalize this awful act that happened. And I'm honestly kind of appalled and confused. That's where I'm at with the commentary. Question number 2. How does this protest affect my views of white people? For people who don't know, my husband is white. I still love him because he's my husband, and he's a good person and kind and has been very supportive of me. Now, people I don't know as well, it's a little different. Family members is a little different that aren't in my immediate family. It's a little different. Meaning, there are some people who have, can't think of a better way to put this without sounding very crass, showed their asses on social media pertaining to this protest and Black Lives Matter. And I just don't appreciate it. I'm watching these people. I see what they say. I've discussed with my husband distancing ourselves from people who have said things pertaining to this protest that I feel like, if you can't support a protest that is pertaining to my skin tone and my son's skin tone, then you have no reason to be in my life. I've seen people I went to high school with, guys I had crushes on in high school, guys I dated, saying things. Some are good. Let me clarify that. Some are good. I've actually had some people who have come out and told me they support me, and they have come to my defense even well before this happened. Some of my friends I grew distant from due to moving, phone numbers changed, all kinds of stuff. And after this protest hit, they hit me up to let me know they were thinking about me. And I appreciate them so much, and I love them so much. And I want them to know that the people who are supporting me and fighting for the cause and understand that what happened is wrong and what's been happening is wrong and needs to stop. I appreciate you. I love you. I see you. I see you on social media. I see you posting things. I see you fighting back these people who are trying to say all lives matter, or claiming that every single one of these people who were killed innocent, or who were innocent and killed by police, or even if they weren't completely innocent, but just the violence was taken too far for a bounce check, or a broken tail light, or smoking marijuana in a car. People who understand and they're fighting back out here in the fields, protesting, speaking up, standing up for their black friends and family. I see you. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. And I want you to know I love you. The people who are sitting back and being quiet and making excuses as to why he deserved to die, or any other person deserves to die in such a senseless, awful way, I see you too. And I'm disgusted. That could be my son one day. My son could be out there one day with a broken tail light, away from home, and some cop pulled him over because of his skin tone and put a knee to his neck for 8 minutes, and then he never got to come home. And the only thing that he thought of when he died was my face. It shouldn't take someone having to explain it to you in a way where they make it about one of your friends or your family members for you to understand that there is something wrong with doing that to someone. The people who are saying all lives matter. Yes, all lives do matter. But right now, Black lives need help. That's what the movement's about. It's not about, oh, we hate everyone else except for Black people. It's Black people have been constantly oppressed and they need to help. They need this to stop. So if you don't understand that, I would love for you to unfollow me, block me, don't talk to me. Do me a favor so I don't have to be bothered with your bigotry and hatred. That's how I feel about white people. There are a lot of good white people out there right now fighting for this cause because they don't completely understand because they didn't personally go through it, but they're learning, they're seeing, they're listening. They know someone. It hits them personally. May not hit them as personally as being a black person, but they are out there and I appreciate them. The rest, they need a moral check, reset, whatever. They need to read a book, learn about history, understand that this has been going on far too long. Question number 3. Have I blocked anyone and why? Why, yes. I've blocked a number of people since this stuff has happened. Actually, I've been blocking people since Black History Month. Some of the main offenders, the reason I blocked them, I caught them saying racist things about black people. I had someone tell me that Black History Month doesn't matter and that I should just go do a DNA test and get over myself. I blocked someone who called me a bitch on social media for being upset about Black Lives Matter. I've blocked countless people who have said racist things about me being in an interracial relationship, and if you don't accept my relationship, then you can't be in my life. I've blocked people who have tried to say Blue Lives Matter. I've also blocked people who have been promoting their Make America Great Again, MAGA 2020, and Trump things on social media because that doesn't work in my home. So those are the main reasons I've been blocking people, and it's pretty cut and dry. If you disrespect my family or disrespect my morals, then we can't be friends. Okay, question number 4. Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter. I've already touched on it a little bit. So, Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. We never said all lives don't matter. It's just Black lives right now, they need help. That's like, I'm pretty sure you've seen this analogy online. One house on a street on fire, but all the other houses matter too, so the fireman has to go past every single house before he can get to the house on fire. And by the time he gets to the house on fire, it burns down. Or you've seen someone having a cancer march, and you're like, well, all lives matter. You're right, but this person is suffering from cancer. Does that not matter too? They need help. You don't see any counter protests to cancer survivors, any type of disease survivors, disability survivors. It only involves Black Lives Matter. Apparently, black people can't speak up for themselves without it being a problem, and I don't appreciate it. Blue Lives Matter. I don't even understand why that's a thing, because it's a direct retaliation to Black Lives Matter. Both are. But Blue Lives Matter, it's a job. You chose that job. You put on the outfit. You go out and patrol the streets. Black people can't help who they are. We are born brown. We're born with curly, kinky hair. You know, we don't have a choice. We can't take our skin off. I mean, we could, but that'd be horrific. But we are black. You can take off the uniform. It is a choice you have. We don't have that choice. And I really don't understand why people are so up in arms about this. It's sad that we have to explain this over and over. I'm not going to go into this one deep because there's plenty of things online already explaining this. Okay, question number 5. Do I feel safe around cops? I have friends and family who are married to cops, who are cops, and I even baked and brought goodies to cops in my old neighborhood around the holidays to let them know I appreciated everything they did. Now, cops I don't know, they make me uneasy. I will admit, for a split second, sometimes I worry that this cop walking by or pulling me over is going to find something wrong. Not to say I get pulled over on a regular basis, just if I were to get pulled over, my heart stops for a second whenever I see those cop lights. One of the scariest moments I had was driving and a cop turned his lights on not to pull me over, but actually to pull the car in front of me over. And when I say I had my heart fall out of my chest for a second, it was the scariest feeling I'd ever had. Um, my husband doesn't completely understand my fear initially when we were first dating, why I was afraid of cops. And then as we've been together longer, he started to realize why I'm afraid of cops. They make me uncomfortable. They make me uneasy. Um, I have to get a connection, a personal connection with a cop for me to lose that fight or flight feeling inside of me whenever I see one. It's sad that I am afraid of the people who are supposed to protect me, protect and serve. So that that's about it for cops. I don't have much on that. Okay, question number 6. How do I feel about white people asking me about racism? This one's kind of tough because it depends on how and what is asked. I've had people ask me questions about racism recently, and honestly, part of me is always ready to back it up with factual information, do research, and things like that, because I'm always expecting it to be a white person asking me this question just to prove how wrong I am about Black Lives Matter, or how wrong I am about being angry and hurt as a black person in America. Now, there have been white people who have genuinely asked me questions because they didn't understand something, and I appreciate them asking, or let me restate that. I appreciate them wanting to know and understand, but as a black person, I should not be the one teaching you these things. You can look it up online. I've had people ask me, do I burn in the sun? I've had people ask me disrespectful questions about my body, if things are the same color as everyone else. I've had people ask me, do I have African decorations in my house because I'm black? I've had people ask me why my hair is nappy. Not curly, not kinky, anything like that. Nappy. I've had people ask me why I talk the way I do. I've had people ask me why do I read what I do? Do I like black people things? Why don't I use a bunch of ebonics when it comes to talking? The list goes on. And close friends, they don't ask me that. I'm just a person who happens to be brown. And it infuriates me when people ask me things like that. Or, do I know how to swim? Or, do I like to read? Are you serious? That's so disrespectful, and it's rude, and honestly, who raised you? Like, that's my biggest question. That's not cool. Black people read. You know, we know how to swim. We know how to do a lot of things. We're amazing people. We're just like everybody else. We're just brown. I really just, it blows my mind how stupid people can be. Now, my sentiments towards racism, though, I will say I've had some white people reach out to me and apologize for things they said or did over the years because they didn't realize that it was considered racist, disrespectful, and things like that. And I truly appreciate those people. The people who have acknowledged they did something wrong, apologize to the person that they did it to, me in question, and then decided to change. Those are the people I appreciate the most. The people I have a problem with are the ones who refuse to change, refuse to acknowledge that they have a problem, and that what they're doing and what they're saying and their actions in general are just not okay. So that's basically where I'm at when it comes to people asking me about racism. Racism's bad. It's not okay. There's a lot of things that if you really want to understand, you can look it up. There's books, podcasts, movies, all kinds of things that can answer those questions for you. Right now, a lot of people are reaching out, but I don't think they really know how to reach out. So think before you ask. Look it up if you can online. There is Google. If you were listening this far, you've probably heard a couple of clicker things that answer this next question. Number 7. Have I experienced racism? Yes. Um, Countless times. I'm not going to go into all of it because I would be here all day. This would be, instead of maybe a 20-minute video, a couple hours long, maybe longer. So, yes, I have experienced racism my whole life. Earliest experience of racism that I distinctly remember dates back to elementary school. Okay, question number 8. Do I have any personal racist encounters that stick out? Yes. My earliest memory of a racial encounter that stuck out for me involved a girl in my elementary school, and this is when we were all in elementary school for clarification. She asked me why I talked differently than everyone else that was black. She said she wondered why I didn't say yo and dog all the time, like most black people. Luckily for me, at the time, another black kid at school heard her and told her off, and told her how that wasn't nice, and how that was really mean and disrespectful to ask me something of that nature. And he was a little harsh, in my opinion, because she did start crying because she didn't expect for someone to tell her that wasn't cool. And she ran to our black teacher to tell on us for telling her that wasn't nice. And our black teacher actually proceeded to sit her down and explain to her why it wasn't nice and why she should not say things like that. I want to say another encounter that stuck out for me a little later in school, maybe high school time is the best way to put it. I had a teacher. She was talking about the Rwandan genocide, and she did school-related things for that. Had us read Hotel Rwanda, the book An Ordinary Man, the movie Hotel Rwanda, and I was one of either the only black kid in my class or one of very few black kids in my class, and the rest of the class came to the conclusion that the Rwandans brought the genocide on themselves. And my teacher did not bother to correct them and explain to them why that's wrong and why that's problematic to think that way. We actually, me and another girl in the class, actually talked to our teacher after class and asked for another debate to clear the air on why that's wrong, and nobody changed their minds. It was really heartbreaking, but not surprising, and my teacher wasn't in our corner. Another incident was I was in a show choir, and being in show choir, my mom and my dad pointed this out. Well, my stepdad pointed this out. In most of our shows and performances, the darker you were, or the more you were disliked by our teacher, the further in the back you were. You were only in the front height-wise for slow songs, and no one black in my show choir ever got a solo. And honestly, I hated being in show choir all 4 years in high school. I enjoyed it in middle school because my middle school teacher was amazing, but high school I was not a fan. And it was really rough, some of the things I dealt with in high school, because I don't think a lot of people realize that at home I was also dealing with child abuse. So to go from being at home dealing with child abuse to then go to school and deal with racism, it was honestly hell. Excuse me, sorry, a little choked up over here. Another encounter I had, and this was also in high school, I had a boy who liked me. He told me he liked me. He wanted me to be his girlfriend. And he said I was his girlfriend all of for a week. And then he brushed me off and finally just said he wasn't going to date me via email. And when I finally cornered him and asked him why, He said because he wasn't allowed to date black girls. And then proceeded to date a white girl a week later, who was actually at my bus stop. So I had to see him making out with her every day that entire year of school. I dated a guy who laughed at a racist joke. We're cool now, not best friends or anything like that, but I was really disappointed in him when it happened. One of his buddies asked, "Why do black people attract flies?" And I didn't understand it because I was just so in shock that someone would say something like that. And my boyfriend at the time laughed. And granted, I smacked him and walked away. And it was hard for me. It was really hard because I liked him a lot. And it took me grappling with my morals and talking to my parents about it to decide that it wasn't worth it. If he couldn't respect me as a black person, then he couldn't respect me. And I think he learned from that. I think he understands that that wasn't cool. And I've moved on and I'm happy now with who I'm married to. As an adult, some of the things I've dealt with, I had someone ask me how I felt about the word mulatto. I had to Google that one because I hadn't actually heard that bad word. Also, I'm not including every time I've heard the N word in my vicinity or someone calling me that or some variant of that because it's after a while you just get tired of hearing that stupid stuff. People get creative sometimes. I've had a incident where someone said my olive green lace skirt blended in with my legs while I was working a job. I had someone say that having a brown spot on your skin meant you were turning into a negrita. And when I reported it to my boss, they didn't do anything. They just sat there and were like, oh, maybe you misheard her or misunderstood her. And I do speak Spanish. I'm not amazing at it, but I have used it at multiple jobs, and I've used it moving and things like that. So I knew what she said, and I knew I didn't appreciate it. I've had someone sniff my hair and tell me it smelled like patchouli oil, and then try to invite other people to sniff my hair. And this was in a public town hall meeting. So these are some of the racist things that I've personally encountered that stuck out and I haven't forgotten. There's others, but I don't want to be here all day listing every single racist encounter I've been through. Okay, number 9. How does this affect my family? This affects my family because I'm raising a son. Some people may have heard of the 1-drop rule, where if you have any black in your family, you're considered black. And the more black you look, the higher chance of being discriminated against or treated like a black person. So for me, I'm not gonna lie, I had become kind of numb to the racism because it happened so frequently. It got exhausting and depressing, and I kind of just shrunk into myself and didn't talk about it anymore because it seemed like every time I stood up for myself, I was the only one in the room speaking. No one else was sticking up with me. People were gaslighting me, downplaying what happened, joining in on the fun. So after a while, I got tired. And I know it's wrong, but it was easier to try to be small and straighten my hair or pretend to laugh at some of these things that people said just to brush off the awkwardness of having to tell people constantly that that's not okay. And then I became a mother. And I thought about one day something like what happened to George Floyd or Trayvon Martin happening to my son, and I realized I needed to speak out. I needed to make my voice heard, stand up for what I believe in, stand up for my son, stand up for my family, and my fellow black people, because this is wrong. And I don't want to one day have my son ask, Mom, why did you not stick up for me when I was little? That would honestly break my heart. So now I'm not quiet anymore. And I have a zero tolerance policy for racism. I'm going to let people know immediately when they say something wrong or do something wrong because it needs to be acknowledged. Ironically, people think they've actually asked me this, but they have not. They've kind of tap danced around it, and I've just flat out told them, but nobody's actually asked me. Number 10. How am I feeling? I'm tired of having to have these conversations. I'm frustrated that I have to keep having these conversations. I'm scared for myself, my son, my family. I'm angry that people just don't want to understand. I'm disgusted that we have people who believe these awful racist things about black people or use their black family members and black friends as an excuse to be racist. You don't speak for them. They have their own voice. You can't say, oh, I have a black friend, or oh, I have a black cousin, or oh, I have a biracial son, or whatever, and say, it's okay for me to say the N-word, or it's okay for me to say this racist thing. It's not okay. What is okay is you learning about the black culture and understanding why black people are angry and hurt and scared and frustrated and sometimes confused because of all the things that are going on, and learning how to help them through this tough time. I'm appalled by how bad things have gotten just for black people to have their voices heard. It scares me. It disgusts me. It hurts me. I haven't slept well since they announced George Floyd's death. I was already having issues before that. Every time a black person was unjustly killed, like, just more and more videos were showing up online of unarmed black people being brutalized, killed, beaten, mistreated. And these cops and these white people, and this is not all white people, these awful racist people are getting away with these crimes, and it scares me. It makes me wonder, what if I'm next? What if my son's next? What if they hunt down my whole family because my husband decided to marry a black person? Being married to a white person does not give me a pass in regards to that, and I've had people say that to me before. It doesn't. If anything, it actually makes things more difficult because I stick out more. I constantly feel like crying, but I can't. I just feel numb inside. I've had multiple panic attacks, multiple PTSD episodes, and I'm just tired. I don't know what it takes to get these people to understand how wrong this is, and why we need to speak up, and why we need to stand up and speak out against this. I'm not big on talking about political issues and things like that because I don't know all the facts off the top of my head, and when I get really angry, I kind of blank. So I figured the best way to talk about these issues was to make a video. To the white people out there who are supporting the cause, I appreciate you and I love everything you do for those people, for us, for the people who are silent and the people who are sneakily saying racist and awful things. You need to check your morals. Pray to whatever God you believe in, and think, would you want someone to be looking up to you, saying these things? Would you want someone to say something like that to you, do something like that to you, or one of your loved ones? I don't know. Like, I don't understand anymore. I feel like some of these people, it's just, there's no hope for them. And I am not one for violence. I'm not one for destroying property and things like that. But I'm sad that it took things getting this far for people to start listening. So at this point, I think it would be best for people to find it in their hearts to realize that this is a very serious matter and it's not going to go away until things are changed, and that people like me are hurting and we're doing our best to get through this time. So again, this is just my opinion. You can take it or leave it. There's no discussion of it. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So I'm going to film my normal videos from now on, and I've said my piece. That's just my 2 cents.